Welcome on back to a new edition of the N Harmon Show. I'm Dalton Wicks alongside my pal Eric Harmon.
Dalton, this week we got a late season MLB update. We're starting to get there. We got the Olympics first time in 4 years it comes around. Of course, we got the NFL starting up, so let's get to it.
Let's do it. NFL preseason, man.
It's as important as they come, as you can tell by the Detroit Lions 4-0 preseason leading up to their 0-16 regular season. This is as important as they come.
This is where boys become men. It's where the playoffs are determined. It's where we figure out who's a contender and who's a pretender.
Exactly. Now is the time. And I already know one of these teams that is a definite contender, the Cleveland Browns. They're going all the way.
I mean, they're just going to ride right off the Cavaliers, and they're just going to take this. I mean, the Indians are doing well. The Browns are just like, why not us? Why not us?
Cleveland has stolen the City of Championships title from away from the Bay Area. It's well, not yet, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. 2 championships away.
RG3, man. He's gonna have a huge bounce back season. We're gonna get into that a little bit later. But first, it's time to talk some baseball. All right, so
big week.
I think first we're gonna start it off with not necessarily so much of current and what's going on, but some legends and some guys that are starting to call it quits. Well, I mean, Ichiro, the first guy we're going to talk about, hasn't called it quits yet, but now that he's reached this milestone, it's only a matter of time.
It finally happened.
He gets his 3,000th hit.
Yeah, it was one of the big storylines this year, whether it was going to happen this season or maybe possibly early next season, because a lot of people didn't think that he'd be playing as much as he would be. But then a couple injuries came down for the Marlins, so he started starting, and he really forced his way just to play every game. He was getting 3 or 4 hits every game, just forcing his way into the starting lineup. And then I think Giancarlo Stanton came back, so he went back to the bench a little bit. But it's he's gotten there. It took him a couple more games, but he is at 3,000, and he couldn't do it at home in front of those home fans. I'm sure they would have loved that, but he got it done on the road. I don't remember where it was at, but
what I think would have been extra special is if somehow they traveled to Seattle and did it there.
That would have been cool, definitely.
I mean, because that's where it all started.
Yeah.
That's where he spent the majority of his career. But yeah, he's had just a phenomenal career, and you really wonder if he would have. It's so hard to tell how he would have adapted earlier on in his career, but I mean, the fact that he hit the ground running so hard when he first came into the big leagues, even though it was a little bit later than most people, he probably had a pretty good shot at beating Pete Rose.
Yeah, I agree. I think he would have had it if he had started, because he started at the age of 27. That's something like 4 or 5 at least years later than you would normally start in the MLB at 23, 24. And with his talent, he could have been playing probably around 19 or 20. So who knows how much, what that number would have ended up with. 6 or 7 more seasons of 200 plus hits. That's putting him around 4,200, 4,400. So
yeah. I mean, he's, 42 years old now, and he's still chugging away. Granted, it's kind of platooning and on part-time, but he's hitting 321, and he's 42.
Yeah. And it's not like he's not getting – his OBP's at a 391, too. He's been doing a great job of –
just getting on base?
Yeah. It's not just – I mean, it is just – or I guess it is just singles at this point, but – he's doing a darn good job at it.
That's his role. I mean, when he's at his age, it's not like they're expecting him to be going too nuts like he was back in his prime. I mean, he plays a serviceable outfield still, and then he goes up to the plate, and if he can get on base with a leadoff single or whatever, then you're paving the ways for guys like Marcell Ozuna and Giancarlo Stanton. Those are the big boys in that lineup that need to produce.
Exactly. So he's been doing his job as well as you can do it.
All right, another guy. Now we're going to get a little controversial here. As far as abrupt retirements go, we've had two very interesting abrupt retirements of 2 pretty iconic players in today's MLB. Well, one not so much anymore, but one name's been out there for quite some time.
One of them's tragic. The other one, in its own way, might be a little bit tragic.
Yeah, we'll start with the one that came first, Prince Fielder, who he hasn't quite been normal Prince Fielder level in recent years. I mean, ever since he moved away from Milwaukee, really, he hasn't quite been himself. He had some pretty decent numbers in Detroit, too, and But then when he moved to Texas,
Look, Patrick, I'm Texas. Howdy, y'all.
it just all went downhill. I feel like they absolutely got killed in that Ian Kinsler swap with Prince Fielder, because Kinsler's gone on to still have a pretty nice career for Detroit.
I mean, it seems like maybe this was the end game for Prince Fielder because of that body type that he was running around with. I mean, in his first 7 seasons or so, he played almost every single game he was out there. He didn't miss many games at all. You got to wonder if you got to think maybe the teams later in his career, Texas and Detroit. I guess not Detroit. Detroit got him for every single game, but Texas was just getting a broken Prince Fielder.
Yeah. It is really tragic when you speak about what happened, just because you never want to see a guy like that. He didn't seem like he was too bad of a guy. I mean, he had a kind of bubbly personality, especially like when you saw him doing the home run derbies and All-Star game. He always looked like he was having a good time, bringing his kids out. The players seemed to get along with him. We'll never know the full story about what a guy truly is like, but for what it seemed, he seemed like he was okay. And then he was a great storyline for the game when he was playing at his peak level, just because he was roping home runs left and right. He had so much raw power, and he was the heir of Cecil Fielder, and oddly enough, he finishes his career with the exact same amount of home runs as his dad. That's really
scary.
Eerie. Yeah.
And it kind of sucked seeing his press conference retirement, seeing him in that neck brace, like, 'cause that's just a vulnerable position. I feel like to have to be on air, like looking like with the neck brace on, like that don't look like I'm at 100% whatsoever. I look terrible right now. It's just it just kind of sucked to see him like that, and after seeing how good and dominant he's been in the MLB at times.
Yeah, he hadn't had more than 30 home runs in a season since 2011. So considering, when he was at his peak, he was 50 home runs, 46 home runs. He was totally dominating, and his peak RBI total was 141 one year. That's pretty crazy. But he was never a guy that really struck out too much. I guess that was another big plus with him. Most of those power guys you'd see strike out like 200 times a year, like a Chris Davis type player, but he never really let his strikeouts get too out of hand, never even reached the 140 mark, so I'd say that's pretty good for him.
It's funny, too. You look at his doubles, and I was just looking at Ichiro's stats, because we were talking about him. They put up about the same amount of extra base hits, and when you think about the difference in the body type between those two players, it's a little comical when you think about it, because you have Prince Fielder putting up 35 doubles, 30 doubles, and you look at, maybe not the triples. Ichiro has about 10 triples for every triple that Fielder has, but Ichiro's putting up 25 triples, or 25 doubles, 25, 30 doubles. I mean, it's just funny to think about Prince Fielder getting around the field as fast as he could, I guess.
It is. But, he actually wasn't too bad at running. I mean, especially in his younger years. I mean, he actually did get around quite quick for a guy of his size. It was always kind of fun to watch him run around the bases.
He had 7 stolen bases one season.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And a pretty decent batting average for his career, too, around 280. So that's a very respectable career he had. Unfortunately, considering how it's been cut short and everything, I don't think it's quite going to be Hall worthy. But he had a good run. Good run. It's kind of reminiscent of his dad, really, just because not just because of this identical home run total, but just because of like the overall impact that they had.
Yeah, he definitely. I agree. He won't be a Hall of Famer, but he's definitely one of those generational players where everyone around our age is going to remember who he is for the rest of the time. He's one of those guys.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair. And now,
same with the other guy.
Yeah, and now we're going to move on to a very controversial one, and Alex Rodriguez. It all came so suddenly. I mean, I can't say I didn't see someone like this coming, honestly, just because his production was waning pretty severely. He wasn't really getting much playing time anymore. They just didn't really find a use for him in the lineup, especially now that Yankees are sort of entering that rebuild mode, as evidenced by the fact that they're bringing in some younger guys now and just trying to see what they got. And they've got a ton of pretty decent talent down on that farm now that they brought in those hauls from the Miller and Chapman trades. But Yeah, Alex Rodriguez. What can you say about him? If you could use one word to sum up Alex Rodriguez's career, what would it be?
Tragedy is honestly the word that I think of.
Yeah.
Yeah. The story that gets told about him is you never saw someone who wanted more to be liked by his peers and just made so many bad choices and seemed more fake than Alex Rodriguez over time. It was just, he wanted one thing so badly, just to be liked, and he got literally like the exact opposite. I mean, it's just, for all the production he put up, for all the stats he put up, just in the end, like, no one really cares because of how just fake he's always seemed to come across. And it's just, he was a good player, and I'm not even addressing the fact that he's connected to steroids, and that's a whole thing in itself too. So, I mean,
you're right though. I think what this all boils down to is the steroids definitely factor into this, but it's more of just the fact of his reputation.
Exactly, because there's other guys who do steroids who we don't like. Bartolo Colon, we love him.
Yeah, just because there's guys who own up to it and guys who just say, like, I made a mistake and moved on. But with A-Rod, it's like, okay, there's one strike there for the steroids, and then there's more strikes you get for being a big fat liar to everybody.
Yeah.
Kind of like Ryan Braun,
and completely fake. Yeah.
And then I just think he had a reputation of being a total diva around other players. Not so much. He was okay with media, I think, for the most part. He wasn't really a guy, well, besides the whole lying fiasco and everything and totally fooling everybody like that. But, I mean, just as far as, like, post-game pressers and stuff like that, I don't think he was ever too mean or anything.
Maybe one or two instances where he got heated, but I feel like it was never anything lasting. No legacy for that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just feel like he totally lost a lot of respect that people had for him, and it's really, like you said, it's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a total. I'd say the one word that comes to mind is immature. Just because it's a sense of maturity to show that, like, especially when he makes the mistake of the steroids or knows that he's been a bit of a handful with teammates and stuff like that. He just never quite became that total leader that you want in the clubhouse. Like a guy with that immense amount of talent, you want him to just take people under his wings and, like, totally be that ideal role model so that generations of baseball players after him can all look up to him and be like, that's the guy I want to be.
I think that relates to what I said earlier in that you can't be a leader if you care too much about what people think about you. Like, I think this was this driving force in his career, just his want to be loved so much. It caused him to do steroids. It caused him to do all the things in the media that he did, like just becoming an issue with him, what was going on with Madonna, people like that. Just thing after thing in the storyline. Those pictures, he made a joke out of himself. Those pictures, remember those pictures pressed up against the glass, just him staring into the mirror of himself. Like, it was just fiasco after fiasco for him from a PR stance. I mean, and it wasn't like on the field. He still produced for a I don't know. It was a little bit rough with the Yankees because he did get them 2 MVPs and a championship, but that was by 2009, so it's been 7 years since that's happened. So it's a bit of a rough situation there. So I'm not gonna lie, I forgot the initial question.
What can you say about him? He topped out at 57 home runs in a season. He had 54 doubles in one season back in '96. That was pretty impressive. And then he topped out at 156 RBIs in 2007 with the Yankees. No doubt, probably when he took home the MVP honors. And he had a pretty nice career. That's kind of an understatement, actually. It was a legendary career, but just considering all things, like just everything around him, all the substance and context within his career, I don't think he's even going to sniff the Hall of Fame.
You blew it! Agreed.
I think a lot of those riders are just, they really value integrity, and they value guys who are just like good guys, They want guys who just lead good careers and good examples, because like that's what they want the people to see in the Hall of Fame to like aspire to be. I feel like. And they're going to take a look at A-Rod and be like, no.
Yeah. And I think that from a fan perspective, they're going to see A-Rod's fakeness and just completely disrespect, like not respecting. Because like I said earlier, they'll respect the guy who is real with you and be like, yeah, I cheated, but like I mean, that's the way things are, over the person who will deny to an extent of like Rafael Palmeiro or something like that. Like,
that was another tragedy, really.
Yeah, and some of those guys, it was just like embarrassing to see. Like,
it was totally embarrassing.
Yeah,
they should feel completely embarrassed.
Yeah.
I don't know what they can really do to repair any of the damages that they caused. I mean, it's pretty much out of their hands now. Alex Rodriguez, though, great career, really unfortunate. Again, he even hit 358 one year. That was a pretty incredible batting average to have. So yeah, he really did kind of transcend the shortstop / third base position. He was one of the better all-around talents we've seen in really all of MLB's history. And he really cost himself, I think not that it totally matters at this point just because of the fact that he got popped for steroids, but if he didn't, he easily would have passed Babe Ruth in home run total and possibly even gotten close to Bonds.
Yeah, agreed. I thought he was going to be one of the guys who did get up in the top 3 in that race because I thought he was on pace to do it, but then suspensions and injuries kind of derailed that. So here we are, end of a career.
That'd be really weird, though. In a way, that kind of makes me happy just because I can't envision Babe Ruth falling out of the top 3 in home runs, like, just ever.
Yeah.
That's really weird to think about. It's because you always saw him as, like, one of the guys. And Hank Aaron is like one of these guys. And now Bonds joins them. But now if one other guy gets up in there, that means Babe's gone from the top 3.
Yeah. I always thought, that's crazy because he was the first guy to bring home runs to baseball. And for him to be gone, it would just be kind of monumental when you think about it like that.
Yeah, he was like the guy that brought like just the moonshot onto the face of the sport. And, he probably would have had a ton more if he wasn't pitching, too, for so long. If he was a sole hitter, I mean, who knows how many he would have hit.
Yeah. True that.
Another little quick note while we wrap up the headlines here. Jonathan Papelbon, actually, this was announced today. It was released by the Washington Nationals. He requested his release. I mean, the Nationals did require Mark Melancon from the Pirates to take over as closer at the deadline, and now Papelbon's a free agent. It's been a rough year for him. We're sitting at about a 4.5 ERA. He's really just not been himself since they acquired him last year.
It's been about since whenever that altercation with Bryce Harper happened. It's been
I still have no idea why they kept him after that. When a guy does that to your star player, you need to make an example and say, like, you need to realize who's your future and who's the rental there. It's just, you don't need guys like that around your clubhouse.
Yeah, the only reason I could see them is if Bryce Harper came to him and told him to keep him.
Yeah.
That would be the only way.
That might have been something that happened, too.
But yeah, because I agree, he should have been released. But now it's happened 10 months later, so no harm, no foul, except for a couple blown saves.
Couple of injury notes now we're going to touch on for the baseball season. Now that we're running towards the stretch and getting towards when the teams really will find out if they're pretenders or contenders and whether they're going to make the playoffs or not.
We're not being sarcastic this
time. Getting real close to September, yeah. It's a big blow to the Colorado Rockies, which I feel like is going to totally derail their chances of getting to the playoffs. Not that they really had that great of a chance to begin with, just because their pitching staff still just lacks so much. Trevor Story, pretty significant thumb injury for him, and he's going to miss a lot of time, if not the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So that was a big blow there. I mean, especially considering he was probably on his way to getting a good look at Rookie of the Year, maybe. But I don't know. Corey Seager might have something to say about that over in L.A., too, especially if the Dodgers make the playoffs, which is, I think they'll at least make the wild card.
Yeah, Colorado never really was maybe fighting for a playoff spot. They had outside hopes, but
I think it was just one of those years where, they actually mentioned that the GM for the Rockies, his contract's up after next year, so it might have been one of those things where Hughes is trying to really push for it and show ownership that, like, he's really trying to get that team on the right track.
Yeah, but he was one of the best stories coming out of Colorado, so it's going to suck to see him out for the rest of the year.
I see what you did there.
Oh, now I see what I did there.
That's so funny. The last time I heard that, I laughed so hard I fell off my dinosaur.
Didn't even know it. One of the best
Pretty bad.
Trevor stories coming out of the Rocky season.
Oh, man. Next guy, Nick Castellanos.
Yeah, Nick Castellanos from the Tigers.
I blew that
third.
name.
It's all right, man. Happens. Nick Castellanos also going to be out for a little while for the Detroit Tigers. Pretty big blow there because they were really starting to make some headway on the Cleveland Indians in the Central and make it an interesting little race there. This was the Tigers' year to really make a big push for it, especially because Kansas City just fell out of it. Chicago really cooled off after that hot start, and the Twins just suck. So, I mean, it was really the Indians that were the only team that's contending with them. They're still right there with the Indians. It's not too big of a gap to overcome, but it's getting a little bit harder and harder as the season wears on.
Yeah, and he had really broken out this season, too. His third full season in the MLB, and he's only 24, too, which is a pretty good amount of experience.
Yeah, that was one of the big things that they were always talking about with him is they think that the Tigers might have brought him in a little bit too early because he didn't exactly hit the ground running when he first came in.
He's batting .260 for those first 2 years, basically, but he's bumped it up. He was batting .286 up until the injury. OPS of .831, 18 home runs, 58 RBIs, so he's having a pretty productive season. Third base for the Detroit Tigers. I was going to name 3 other teams before I got to it there. The Detroit Tigers. So it's another with the push. I mean, that's going to suck to see him go down because you were saying it was their good chance to make it with the Royals falling so hard with all their injuries. It's the AL Central, the wasteland of injuries at this point almost.
Yeah, and much to your joy, I think Clayton Kershaw
yes,
was transferred to the 60-day DL, so he's going to spend a little bit longer of a stint than I'm sure the Dodgers would prefer. Not much more you could say about him. One of the best dang pitchers on the planet. They need him. They really need him. Maybe not so much to get to the playoffs. I think they still might reach the playoffs without him just because that team is good enough. They have a good amount of guys with raw talent to just get there, at least with a wild card berth. But when they get to the playoffs,
they're going to need him.
They're going to need that ace.
Yeah. And bad news for me, he had a throwing session on flat ground yesterday, and they plan to have him have another throwing session on flat ground today. And I'm hoping things don't go well, but it does look like things are going well. So we might be seeing him back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, he's going to bring back a lot more excitement to the game, honestly. And I mean, if he's going to pitch like old Kershaw from the old playoff games, I mean, you shouldn't have much to worry about.
I was going to say,
but
if he comes back in the playoffs, I wasn't going to be worried anyways.
But I'm getting a feel that he's, going to make one of those triumphant injury returns and just like feel kind of like that movie. Like kind of like the Dodgers make their own 30 for 30 film this year, and like when Kershaw returns.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think if there's any movies like that. No, I can't think of anything right now. We'll call it Blue and Pooh, the Clayton Kershaw story.
That was a little mean.
I'm sorry, Clayton Kershaw.
I could see it now, though. He doesn't return. He's out for the rest of the regular season. He makes his first start in the wild card game, throws a no-hitter.
Yeah, that would be it. And then the movie ends there because like they lose in the next round. I'm just salty right now. That's all that's happening. I'm sorry. I need to stop.
Another injury, Aledmus Diaz, big time rookie for the Cardinals. I think it was another big guy that's pushing for. It was really between the 3 shortstops, I think, for NL Rookie of the Year: Seager, Story, and then Diaz was also having a really good season. Although in the field, that was a bit of a different story, leading the league in errors for quite some time. But yeah, Aledmus Diaz out for a little while as well with an injury, and he's going to be a big hole in that St. Louis offense just because, I mean, now Johnny Peralta is going to have to slide back over to short, Matt Carpenter is going to slide back to third, and there's going to be a lot of moving pieces around that infield. So, yeah, they prefer to have him around there just because he's a nice bat to have in the lineup, but unfortunately, he's going to be out for a little while. So,
the rookie season batting above 300, 14 home runs, 57 RBIs. That's a productive, very, very productive rookie season. So he's essentially like, because Colton Wong crap the bed, basically. So that left a gap in the middle infield, basically, and he's been what's filling it for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I think Jed Jerko is going to see a lot of playing time in his absence, too. So we'll see if St. Louis, I mean, I just watched their big boy, Adam Wainwright, get roughed up again the other day by the Cubs. So he's having a really bad season, and it's going to take a miracle for the Cardinals to really make a serious run at the playoffs this year.
Agreed.
And it's going to be tough for Diaz to come back. Like he took a fastball 95 miles per hour off the hand.
Ooh.
So that was what happened to him, and he's probably not going to be back anytime soon.
Ow.
And the last guy not having such a great season, but he's getting paid pretty well, Colby Rasmus. Astros offered him the qualifying offer. He took it, surprisingly. Started off really hot. He had a great postseason. If anybody remembers from last year, he was hitting home runs like crazy left and right. But
Injury.
Yeah, an ear injury for him, and he had ear surgery actually. So he's going to be out for a little while with that. And it's going to be a little bit of a blow to that Astros offense, but I think they got some guys that they're going to call up, some prospects that they can fill in. I think if any team can fill an injury void like that, the Astros are pretty well stocked. They have a lot of depth, but it still hurts to have some pop missing from your lineup.
Yeah, he had a cyst in his right ear that was causing symptoms of vertigo and dizziness, which kind of sounds terrifying when you think about it. But yeah. Whatever his stat lines on the season, I mean, he's been having a bad year. So, like you said, the Astros.
Batting average is way down, not where they want it at all. It looks like 211 on the year.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's
pretty
barely above the Mendoza
yikes.
line. Yeah, so he'll be replaceable. It's just a weird injury, and
12 home runs, 48 RBIs though. So he was decently productive in that side of things. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. It's looking like it's Texas's division to lose right now. Speaking of which, we'll get into the standings right now and how they currently shake out. Over in the American League, the East is pretty much a 3-horse race right now. I think that's going to be the most exciting thing to watch down the stretch, just because you got Baltimore, Toronto, and Boston all within 3 games of each other. And Baltimore, Toronto are really neck and neck right now, with Boston just a little bit behind. And it's interesting because Baltimore is kind of like Toronto 2.0, where they're just like slugging everybody. And so they've got guys 1 through 9 in that lineup who can all hit home runs at any time. But that pitching staff isn't that scary. They're decent, but they're not that great. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can get a little lucky there. Toronto's actually had a good pitching this year, including the very surprising Jay Happ, who's leading the American League with 16 wins right now.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see the Vegas odds on Jay Happ being the wins leader right now this late in the season. Probably slim to none. And then, of course, you got Boston, which has a ton of young guys, including the recently called up Benintendi, who's been doing pretty well for them. You also got Betts, Bogarts.
Yeah, their lineup is stacked
Big
as
Poppy
well.
in his final season, who's still killing it. So, yeah, that's quite a lineup over there in Boston as well. Central, Cleveland's pretty much had control of it for quite a while now. They're not going to really lose grip of it, I don't think, after acquiring Andrew Miller and Jonathan Lucroy. Or not Jonathan Lucroy, Andrew Miller and Brandon Guyer. Yeah, they got Brandon Guyer too from the Rays.
Indians, were they even a team we talked about at the beginning of the season? I'm thinking
they've always been my dark horse, man. I was always on that Cleveland bandwagon just because of the pitching, and I just thought if they got a little bit more offensive support, they'd start to go some places. What I think might hurt them heading down towards the stretch is Brantley, their big all-star outfielder who's been out with an injury a lot of the season. He suffered another setback recently, so they really were trying to plan on him being back at least for the playoffs because they could use a big boost to that lineup, but it doesn't look like it's that likely right now. They're going to try to take it easy with him. You don't want to rush him back, especially because he's still younger, about 27, so Got to think about the future.
They're not really slipping in the standings either. All the teams in that division are sitting around 500 in their last 10 right now, so it's not like they feel very rushed to bring him back.
Yeah, Detroit did really start pushing, but then Castellanos went down, and then they started to fall back a little bit. So I think it's pretty much in Cleveland's hands right now, barring some just stretch of horrid play.
A New York Mets September, per se, something like that.
Yeah, really. And then over out west, of course, as mentioned earlier, that's where Lucroy went, to the Texas Rangers. They also got Jeremy Jeffress and Carlos Beltran. Yeah, they're sitting pretty right now. I don't think anybody's going to catch them in the West, and they've got to be seen as the front runners to win the American League pennant right now.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the other teams, the Rangers are the team that filled the most holes during the trade deadline. And have put together, I think, the most complete team, especially when you have Yu Darvish coming back from the DL to provide that extra arm in the bullpen now, too. He had a good start last night, I'm pretty sure. And so, yeah, I agree with you that Texas is looking to be the best team in the AL. Like those early, it's perfect. I would love for Texas to be, the Giants'
punching bag again. Yeah, just like old times. It would
just fit perfectly into the scenario.
That'd be another movie in the making.
You want wild card teams? The first spot is basically going to go to the second place team of the AL East, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I feel like whoever misses out on the East will, and potentially the other AL East team could take it too.
So you have the third AL East team, the Tigers, and the Mariners and the Astros, who I'd say are sitting in that area, who might have a...
I'm not too confident in Seattle just because they don't really know how to get there. I mean, it's been pretty much since the days of like A-Rod and
they've won.
And back when Ichiro was in town, that they were actually a pretty decent team. Yeah. I mean, they've been like just that decent enough the past couple of years, especially with Cano and Cruz and whatnot and Felix Hernandez, but I just don't feel like they're a complete enough team.
I'd like to really get. I think that's a team that I'd want to see get.
It'd be nice to see a different team in there.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that's the reason why. Just a different team.
If I was a betting man, I'd probably say not again.
All right, on to the National League.
Yeah, National League. So National League, we've got Washington and Chicago have pretty much looked like locks all season just from the get-go, and I don't see any reason why we'd change that, especially now that the Cubs have ripped off 10 in a row again, and they're just looking like world beaters.
Double-digit leads in the Central over there, so...
Yeah, but then out west, got the two-horse race between the Giants and the Dodgers.
Yep. It's a good race. I mean... It's not as worrisome as if because you look around the rest of the National League and it looks like whoever loses in that race might get one of the wild card spots too. But I mean, it's Giants and it's Dodgers. It's about to be April or August and September. There's nothing better in baseball when it comes for me, I think. So I can't wait.
If there's any franchise that needs to worry less about maybe falling to a wild card spot, it's got to be the Giants, right? Because I mean, look what they've done when they've come in as a wild card.
We just were just like, okay, Bumgarner, do your thing. He's just like, all right, you want me to hack all these batters down with an axe? I can do that. I don't even need to pitch him a baseball.
Seriously, yeah. But yeah, it's not a huge deal. I mean, ideally, you would like to just skip that one game playoff and then be able to rest a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But I
think we've got a three pitching. I think we'll go with a 3-man rotation. That's what we usually do in the playoffs. So,
do you have that third reliable guy though? We'll get to that in a little bit.
That, yes.
On to Bay Area baseball now. We're gonna start off with the green and gold, the A's. What's been going on with them?
Let's do it.
Yeah, not so great. Well, I mean, we did just take 3 out of 4 from Baltimore, so we got that going. But before that, we were 1-8 against Cleveland, the Angels, and the Cubs steamrolled us.
Yeah. It's not good.
It was fun to go see the Cubs, though. I got to go catch one of those games.
You go check out their lineup. That's fun.
Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo and all those studs. But yeah, it's not been fun for the A's. I mean, now Reddick and Hill are gone, and there's just not a whole lot there. I mean, Sonny Gray and Jed Lowry, they hit the DL again. Sonny Gray, he had another rough start before that, and it's been a season to forget, and I feel like even that's an understatement. He's just really had a rough time. I think it's just the guys figured him out, and baseball's a game of adjustments. A lot of guys will tell you that, and he just hasn't readjusted back. He might have been playing with an injury for quite a bit, but I think it's more of just he needs to readjust to the batters. And then Jed Lowry, one of the few real veteran presences that was actually contributing we had left out on the field. He hits the DL with a foot injury, and if he has surgery, he'll be done for the year. So,
yeah, the thing about Sonny Gray that kind of adds to what you said is that I don't think before he's gotten hurt, it wasn't like his peripheral here. His numbers, his speed was down.
Velocity and
was still there.
The break on his pitches and everything. I think it was kind of normal to what he was used to doing, but guys just they know what he's doing now.
Yeah, sadly,
it sucks because that's the one thing that we were kind of hoping to hold on to is in a kind of a lost season, and we never really anticipated making that deep of a run at the beginning of the year anyway. But if we had known that Sonny was still Sonny, then we'd have something to hold on to. And now Manaea's pitching pretty decent of late too, so we'd have some things to look forward to pitching wise. But yeah, it's been pretty bad. Historical injury woes actually, just because we've been breaking actual records on the A's for injuries. Well, I mean, because it helps that we've had 3 guys who haven't even stepped on the field all year long, and Jared Parker, Sam Fuld, and Eric Sogard, they've all been out the entire year for injuries. And then we've had Lowry make a couple trips. We've had Valencia, Davis, Crisp. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We have had so many guys come on and off. So it's been tough. It's been really tough to see. And Felix Doubront is another guy. Oh, and Chris Bassett too. Those I just keep coming up with names.
You had some bright spots. You've had one bright spot that you completely hate.
Yeah, I have to give credit where credit's due that Billy Butler's actually been hitting a decent clip, but I will still have to throw out there that he's getting paid a pretty decent amount of money, and he's paid to solely hit. So when he's not hitting, he's a total waste. There's zero reason to play him at all, just because he's absolutely atrocious fielding. Mm-hmm. And he just has no value and no speed, no anything, unless he's just getting hits. But I mean, he's been hitting a little bit better. He's brought his average up to 280. Granted, he hasn't been playing every day, so that's a little knock on him too. But he's been okay. He's been all right. Still a double play machine, but he's been okay. Jake Smolinski, I think, is probably my biggest surprise all year, just because he was a guy that had been an afterthought from the Texas Rangers, kind of flamed out with them, really. The Oakland picks him up on waivers. Didn't really know what we got there. He was okay last year for us, kind of a 4th outfielder, nothing special. He was up and down from AAA. And then this year, especially with Reddick being gone now, and Reddick when he was on the DL, and then you had Billy Burns getting options. So there was lots of outfield playing time available, and Smolinski's really taken advantage of it. And he's having a career year. He's getting a ton of playing time now, almost every day, and he's hitting pretty well. I mean, he was hitting over 300 for quite some time there, and he's still hovering around 290. So, and he's a pretty underrated guy all around because he plays a pretty good outfield too, and he's got a decent amount of pop, not too much, but and he's got a little bit of speed. So he's just a nice little all-around guy to have playing out there, and I think he needs to get his credit.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at his stats and I was like, I don't know what to say about him, so I don't have anything.
That's my point, man. Yeah. Not a lot of guys know about Jake the Snake.
I don't know who this guy is.
Jake the Snake, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna remember his name next year.
Center fielder. He only has 1 stolen base, so I was like, okay.
And see, what was interesting about him is he was always seen as a corner outfield, and then we put him in center, and he's been doing well in
Ranging
center,
well.
just because. I feel like the big thing that we didn't really see with him, he's a lot faster than people thought. and he actually covers a lot more ground than people anticipated, and he's been really just kind of blowing away our expectations.
He doesn't strike out often. He's only has 18 strikeouts in 60 games. So
Yeah.
I mean, the batting peripherals look pretty good. 352 OPP, 440 OPS on top of the 283 batting average. So I mean, it could be a little bit better, but it's still league average. So not much. I mean, if you're looking for production, you got somewhere you didn't see it. So I mean, that's where value is. So
I mean, from a guy who was really just in DFA limbo and not really going anywhere, I mean, I think we've had a pretty good find right there.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
And then the upcoming trip for the A's, currently in the middle of a series against Seattle. Took game 1 of that, and now we got 2 more to go. And then we're going to hit the road to go visit the division-leading Rangers. It'll be a tough little series down in Arlington. Then it's off to U.S. Cellular Field to face the White Sox in their home park, and then host the also division-leading Cleveland Indians. So 2 division leaders. Indians, Rangers. Going to be a rough little series.
All right, one big sweep against the Texas Rangers, and you guys are right back in the division race, all right? So, right back
Still
there.
holding out for hope, man. Still holding out for hope. We should move on to a team that does have a chance, though, and that's the SF Giants. Across the bay. But it has been a bit of a rough second half so far, I'd say, to say the least.
Yeah. It's fair to say. 8-17 since the All-Star break, and the Dodgers are back in the race. So
it's going to create a little more excitement, a little more theater.
It'll be fun.
Now the Giants have a little more, not momentum, but a little more incentive to keep up the play a little bit.
Like basically what that was is, we don't just want to beat the Dodgers. We want to crush the Dodgers fans' hope. So we let them back into it like, oh, you got a chance. And then 2 weeks before the regular season ends, we sweep them or something to that extent, get a 4-game lead, and then crotch chop back as we're getting on the playoff bus. So just really rub it into those Dodgers fans. That's what I'm hoping we're going for.
All right,
but really they're back into it. It's gonna be, let's see, we got 6 weeks left of regular season baseball.
Yeah.
So depending on how many times they play against each other, it could be, it's going to be, no matter what, a crazy race. Because whenever these two teams get into it, and it gets ugly.
Yeah, so a couple guys not doing too well in the pitching staff. Namely, Jeff Samardzija.
He's doing better. He's doing a little bit better.
Doing a little bit better.
A little bit better.
Honestly, for the year, I gotta say, I called it. 4.23 ERA. That's not that pretty when you look at it. He started off really hot, was looking pretty good, but I think teams, it's another thing of just getting figured out, It's a guy where he's just not really fooling batters as much as he used to. But again, Samardzija, he's got the velocity there. He's got plenty of movement. He's got a lot of stuff still going for him, but he just needs to refigure out how he was achieving the success in the first place.
He had a good game against Miami. His last start has been not very good before that. But the reports are saying that he is starting to introduce his curveball back into his repertoire. So we'll see if that will help him out. It's said that he did not throw a curveball from 2012 up until July 23rd, 2016. So the fact that he's brought this back in, I've said before that Dave Righetti, the Giants have some of the best pitching staff not pitching staff as in players, but pitching staff as in coaching in the league. So if there's anyone who will help him, I think he'll get the ERA below 4 going and finishing up this season, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, he's going to have to improve just because, even with that good start, he lowered, quote-unquote, his ERA in his last 7 starts to 5.02.
Yeah.
So it's been a rough little stretch for him, and if you even extend it to the last 15 starts, it's a 5.08 ERA. So he's got some room for improvement, but the good news is doesn't really seem like there's any injury concerns going on. I think it's just more of he's need to work with the pitching coach a little bit more, maybe work on chemistry with the catcher, and get this thing rolling. I think if he sort of pieces it together and figures things out, then they're in good shape, and they've got 4 good pitchers, because I think their number 3 starter right now is going to be Matt Moore.
Yeah, definitely.
who's had a great season, by the way.
Yeah,
he's been a real bright spot for them.
I just want to say the last thing on Samardzija. I mean, I think he's found the pieces to the puzzle at the beginning of the year, and he's lost it a little bit through this year as the years gone on. But I think if he just trusts in this coaching staff, like I really like this pitching staff to fix. They've done it before and before, over and over again, and now it seems like they're really starting to make some radical moves with his pitching repertoire and seeing what they really can do to change to make him better. So I'm really hopeful that within the upcoming, maybe not at the end of this season, maybe he doesn't become that big 3 or 4 that we know we really paid for and want. But if they can fix things up for next season, hopefully it'd be pretty good. Matt Moore, pumped on him.
Yeah, so last 7 starts for Matt Moore. 3-3 record, not too pretty, but 2.5 ERA. That's very good.
That's sexy.
And if you go back, last 30 games, 3.99, last 15, 3.47, and then last 7, 2.56. So he's getting progressively better as the season's going on. And he's had an All-Star appearance with the Rays back when he was at his peak before he suffered that huge injury. Cost him quite a bit of time, but now he's back, and it seems like he's finally rediscovering that talent that caused him to be such a big-time prospect.
Yeah, he also had a start against the Miami Marlins. Had a very good start, too, although he picked up the loss. 7 strikeouts, 6 innings, gave up 2 runs in that game, so quality start. So, I mean, it's hard to talk about this pitching, though, being terrible when our offense has just been so ridiculously bad throughout this time as well. Like it's I'm trying to put a little nuance in it because yes, the pitching has been bad, and yet I feel like our hitting has almost possibly been even worse.
Yeah, 237 team batting average for the Giants, which is going to put them in the bottom 11 in baseball since the All-Star break. Not that great there. Let's look at some other ones. On base percentage, again, not that terrific, sitting at 17th. That's also bottom half of the league. And there's a lot of room to improve. I think the guys just need to rediscover that more timely hitting aspect. Total hits, I mean, they're dropped down to 24th out of 30 teams. So, yeah, timely hitting is going to be the name of the game. I mean, if you're not going to get a ton of hits, you need to get them when they count. So whether that's the game-tying home run in the 8th inning or the bases clearing double in the 4th to give you the lead, whatever it may be.
We did have one player get a ton of hits.
You
recently.
did. Yeah. Got to shine some light on that historical performance.
Got 7 hits in one game.
Brandon Crawford, man. Shout out to Brandon Crawford.
That was an impressive performance. I mean, it was just like single to the right field line, like double, triple. I think he ended it with a triple or something like that, but just all-around performance, sprayed it to all sides of the field. It kind of snuck up on me. I guess I wasn't really watching the game, and then I just see on Twitter just 7 hits from Brandon Crawford. I'm just like, wait, what? Like, was this? And of course, it went to extra innings too, which kind of explains some of it. But I love this quote that Brandon Crawford had on it. He said that a reporter told me that 7 hits in a game is rarer than a perfect game. I shared this information almost immediately with Matt Cain. He was a bit defensive. Well, I don't care. I'm pretty thrilled with it. So
it is. He's totally right, though. I mean, it's only been done once since the mid 1970s.
Yeah. So that's like, his name's gonna be on a list of like might only be like 3 or 4 people long ever in time, like so something like that. So he's in a company of very few, and it's where he belongs. Because I mean, Brandon Crawford's been such an amazing part of this Giants team the past 5-6 years, so it's good.
Yeah, you want to talk about underrated? I mean, this is one of the guys that's been kind of flying under the radar.
From the All-Star game this year.
Yeah, and he just really is looking for his due.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been quietly producing. I mean, you know you're getting the defense with him. He's one of the better defensive shortstops in the game, and then when he's hitting on top of that, he's just an all-around threat.
Yeah, locally he's very popular, but the national popularity hasn't come yet, and I think
that helps him with the Giants fan base at least too. The fact that he's, you talk about homegrown guy like coming up from the farms, but he's like literally homegrown from. He went to Foothill,
Stadium,
which is very close to
pictures
here,
of him going to Giants games, like loving the team, like he is like the dream, like as an athlete, like being able to like grow up and play for like wanting to be like, oh, I want to I'm dream of playing for the San Francisco Giants. He's actually doing it. Like that's as good as they come.
So some key series coming up, all against playoff hopeful teams. The Giants will be hosting, though, the Pittsburgh Pirates and New York Mets. So nice to have a little homestand there. Get to chill out at AT&T for a little bit. Then the big series heading down to Chavez Ravine to take on the Dodgers at their stadium. So interesting little stretch coming up.
Yeah.
Of course, they're currently facing off against the Orioles this weekend at AT&T as well. But this will be all following that.
You're facing basically, like, I feel like slightly, maybe not better teams, but just bigger is in terms of Pittsburgh. They're looking at the wild card spot right now, so they're like the third best team. And then you step it up to the Mets. They're looking a little bit better, and then it's the Dodgers. So you're stepping yourself up mentally every series, getting ready. You're getting yourself ready for the Dodgers. So it's gonna be a big month and a half, big month and a half.
It's possible that the winner of that series ends up with the lead in the West when we conclude that series, depending on what happens in the next week here.
And it'll be the Giants.
Keeping hope alive, Giants fans. I mean, you still got the lead right now, so you're in the driver's seat. It's up to you. It's sort of you control your own destiny right now. You just got to keep winning games.
Yep, we'll start winning games. Get back to winning games. That'll do it.
All right, on to some football. Are you ready for some football?
It's a Monday night party.
It's not Monday yet, Eric.
It's gonna be a Monday night party soon. I'm pumped.
Yeah, football's back in action, man. Nice to see the games going underway again, and now there's more sports to talk about.
Yeah. Not really
Always
the games
nice.
themselves, because who cares that it's preseason, but the things that surround the games are storylines as we go into the regular season. So let's start off with the first game that was supposed to happen, the game that didn't end up happening.
Yeah, so the Hall of Fame game was canceled due to some very interesting circumstances. Apparently, from the reports that were coming out, some of the players were complaining about the on-field conditions. Apparently, the paint was starting to melt.
Coagulate, yeah.
Yeah, there was some weird stuff going on with the paint, and then there was parts of the field where players were saying felt as hard as concrete. And there was just really bad playing conditions there. It sounded like all over. And, that's not ideal for playing.
It kind of sounds like some of the paint might have got mixed in with, like, a little concrete mixture or something like that. Because you have...
It's possible, yeah.
You have the coagulation along with it being hard as concrete. Like, I wonder if the field out there was just basically ruined from these guys who... I think they got fired, right? I'm pretty sure the guys who got who were working on the field. I think I remember reading about something that he stepped down because of the embarrassment. Because that is like, if you think about like any other league,
the NFL a bunch of money.
Yeah, like this is like a league embellish or like a blemish. Like this is bad. Like you have your opening game for such a stupid reason being ended. It's kind of embarrassing. Like I feel like if another league did this, I think like we would have been a little bit harder on it. Almost like we might have let the NFL off a little bit, but it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
I don't know. Hall of Fame game, whatever. The first big game is just going to be the regular season opening game. That's going to be the big one.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hall of Fame game. Sorry, not happening this year. Maybe they'll fix things next year. Who knows? But speaking of Hall of Fame, Hall of Famers inducted into the 2016 edition of the NFL Hall of Fame. Got some pretty big names in there. Care to share?
Got Brett Favre, Tony Dungy, Orlando Pace, Marvin Harrison, Ken Stabler, Kevin Green, Eddie DeBartolo Jr., and I just screwed up the one Niners guy, and Dick Stanfel. So those are our 8 guys who got in this year.
That's a pretty solid class right there. You got the former Raider quarterback. You got one of Peyton Manning's longtime wideouts, Peyton Manning's coach, Tony Dungy. Brett Favre, the Iron Man himself, quarterback.
Offensive lineman,
Green
Orlando
Bay Packers,
Pace.
retired 2 times.
But he beast for St. Louis.
Orlando Pace. Total savage, yeah.
And then the Niners... GM/owner at different points, Eddie DeBartolo Jr.
It's a rough one.
Keep tripping over the first syllable there. There you go. I got it.
But yeah, I have no real issues with this. Pretty decent class. Kevin Green, also a really solid linebacker for 15 years in the NFL. So, yeah
Nothing much to say, but good for
he
them.
he was a pretty big part of that steel curtain for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think that was a nice little induction for him. And then you also had, like you said, Bartolo for the Dave Bartolo for the San Francisco 49ers. Brett Favre, what more can you say about him? Owns a ton of the quarterback records, unless Peyton took
And also
them from
puts
him.
out great commercials.
Yeah, Wrangler. What other stuff he's got going on?
He's got that copper sleeve thing.
Yeah,
that's
the
supposed to-
copper sleeve. He's still making money.
He's got some beard trimming kits that also he does too, because I know there's that ad where it's just his face looking at a mirror in different directions. So, Brett Favre getting around. Thank you for that. Thank you for making my life more entertaining. Appreciated.
Yeah, nice when you have such a iconic career like that and people just still throw money at you left and right.
Hey, big enough name.
But yeah, Ken Stabler, also Raider legend, inducted into the Hall of Fame as well. Topped out at 66.7 as his best completion percentage. That was way back in 1976.
Ooh.
Wow, it's been a little while for him. But yeah, great quarterback, great career. Not just Oakland, but also went over to New Orleans and Houston as well. So yeah,
Good for him.
good for him. Yeah, so currently, preseason just got underway, as we mentioned. But some other storylines accompanying Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals extend Carson Palmer and Larry Fitzgerald each for 1 year. Funny enough, Larry Fitzgerald negotiated that by himself with no agent.
No agent, really. That's impressive. That's
Yeah.
because he has a good amount of business experience too, if I remember reading correctly.
Yeah, he's a real
so-
smart cookie.
So he's got it. Yeah, the Cardinals, nevermore has there been a more important player right now than Carson Palmer. I feel like they have nothing behind him, so if he gets hurt, we've already seen it 2-3 times now already, when he gets hurt.
It wasn't that long ago when we were watching the Cardinals trot out John Skelton and all of those. I don't even know who the heck they were throwing out
It's
there
bad.
at quarterback. Yeah.
It's bad. So, good. I mean, this is necessary deals for both of them in 1 year each, so it's team-friendly too as well. So, all around, it looks like they're all in for another Super Bowl run, hopefully.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor going to be earning a little bit more than that. Extended 6
Yeah.
years, $92 million. A lot of team options on this contract, though, so it's not as big of an investment as it seems. But if he has a good enough career, then they will keep him around for quite a while. So I don't know. Is he really the answer, do you think, to their problems, Tyrod Taylor?
I didn't think so. I thought that the one thing they still needed in Buffalo was a QB, but maybe Tyrod Taylor's developed, and I just didn't see it happen in this, because
I've always thought the one thing you need to succeed is to not have Rex Ryan as your coach, but
yeah,
that's just me.
So I'm a little on the fence about this deal, because I don't know if
He was a Pro Bowler last year. But if we gave every Pro Bowler, the first year they made the Pro Bowler, a 6-year deal, yeah, it'd be a little crazy out there.
It's just 6 years, $92 million. So you're only looking about $15 million per year, which isn't top of the line players. And if he does start really going in, or really start succeeding, it's gonna look like a good deal. Plus, you have all the money that's not guaranteed. So I guess it's a good deal just because they've given themselves outs. I mean, and there's not too much risk behind this deal despite it being 6 years.
Yeah. I mean, he had decent stats last year, nothing too blow you away. 3,000 yards passing on the season, averaged about 215 a game, 20 touchdowns, and a quarterback rating just under 100.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty solid. So
basically, the way with all the options are set up, this is going to be either a 1 year, $9.5 million deal or a 3 year, $50 million deal, and then the Bills have control. There's some more years on top of that, but it's unlikely he'll get to those. So smart deal, I guess. I guess that's the way to put it. Well thought out, meticulated. The rewards there for him if he succeeds. the risk isn't that large if he fails, and you think about how many more options there would even be for the Buffalo Bills at QB at this point. So maybe they were forced into this one.
Yeah, when the Jets swooped Ryan Fitzpatrick back off the free agent heap, I mean, you were really left with nothing out there. I mean, I hear that Johnny Manziel guy still looking for some work, but I wouldn't be too eager to go knock on his door.
Yeah.
RG3, speaking of quarterbacks, he also had a pretty good year.
By not playing?
That rookie year.
Oh, okay. 4 year. Gotcha.
If we're on the subject of talking about guys who had that one good year, you know, and we're not really sure about the rest, RG3 had a pretty good rookie year too.
Yeah.
But he begins his Cleveland Browns career, and boy, did he start it off in a very Cleveland Browns-esque way. First drive as a Cleveland Brown, picked off. So, yeah, you got that going for you, Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see Cleveland turn it around. I'd like to see them do well. But, I mean, we are talking about preseason games, so let's see if their futility lasts in that. I wouldn't expect it not to, though, so... Not a good start for RG3. It's almost laughable. I mean, the things he gets himself into, like, you can almost predict him going out there either getting hurt or getting injured. So it's just, of course, he went to the Browns. It makes sense.
Hey, good news for Oakland fans. They get a nice little win over the Arizona Cardinals at the Arizona Cardinals, 31-10. It was actually a nice little beating they gave him. So, a good start to the season, even though, it is preseason, none of this stuff counts just yet. But, always better to see a win than a loss.
Yeah. I mean, they looked faster, a lot faster than the Arizona Cardinals. You had those 2 running plays, I think, on one drive where they ate up like 90 yards between 2 running backs. So it'll be interesting to see how they use it. I mean, that's always been like what the Raiders' vision is for their team, being faster and harder hitting. So, and it seems like this is finally the year where not only they can supplement that skill, or I mean, they can supplement that speed with skill too. So they can be very, very dangerous this season, and I'm ready to see some fun football on one side of the bay.
All right, and now to top off the show, we're going to dive into a little bit of, see what I did there, Olympics. Rio Olympics 2016 coverage.
Green water.
Yeah, green water has been spotted in Rio. Green water,
it's still
Zika.
Better looking at some of their other water, too, so.
They're just trying to kill off our athletes, man.
Yeah, it's
because we're so dang good.
Yeah, we've been killing it. We've
been murdering the other countries, really.
The only competition we haven't won yet is Tonga flag waving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that...
I don't think I really care too much about beating them. They can have it. But yeah, medal count right now, 54 total for the United States. China is second place with 41, and then Great Britain in third with 26. Really just the United States and China in first and second kind of by themselves. But I mean, it's not even that close between us. Gold medals, story's the same, 21 for the U.S., 13 for China, and 9 for Great Britain. So yeah, it's been all USA.
Yeah, I don't know what else anyone would have expected. I mean, we kind of usually go in and destroy the Summer Olympics, I feel like. Yeah, I mean, we win all the swimming stuff, we win all the swimming stuff, and then we win all the swimming stuff, so gymnastics.
Should we go into these swimmers that are responsible for it? Okay, I'd say the first one, the obvious one, Michael Phelps. What more can you say about the man? He's a freak. Mm-hmm. Total freak. He's
22,
up to
23, what is it?
At least 21, I know that. At least 21 gold medals now.
Another one.
I don't know if that record's ever going to get broken, or if anybody's going to, like, what sport they would possibly...
It would have to be swimming, because I think swimming has enough of those separate events that someone could get those many. And it really depends on whether Michael Phelps is a evolution anomaly or the evolution of man when it comes to swimming. So when we figure that out, I think...
he's just tall and long and just dominant. I mean, he uses all that length of his. He's quick. He knows exactly what he's doing out there and knows exactly how to beat his opponents.
Yeah.
Honestly, he was awarded a silver yesterday, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that he lost a match.
Yeah, did you hear that clip of the announcer getting the lanes mixed up? So he thought that Ryan Lochte was in Michael Phelps' lane and Michael Phelps was in Lochte's lane.
Oh.
So he started calling the last bit of the race as if Lochte was winning it and that Phelps wasn't even going to get a medal. And then the race ends and you just see, like, you know how when they touch the way they have the camera set up, when they touch the wall and finish the race, behind them in their lane, like their name will pop up with their flag. So the Phelps name pops up, and just the announcer goes silent, and he goes, waits a couple seconds. I am so sorry for what I completely got that wrong, and then he was devastated because he thought Michael Phelps had lost the race, but he was wrong. So it was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, Lochte's had a decent Olympics for himself too, but I mean, Michael Phelps 4 golds already and a silver, and I believe he is done. He's done with his races.
Oh, you mean in this Olympics? Yeah, I think he is. Yeah.
I think Phelps is all right. And that could have been his last that he ever does. I mean, it's pretty unlikely that a guy comes back at age 35.
Lochte said he would, but who knows if that's actually true or not. So he might have just been talking.
Lochte's decent. He'll be another decent representation in the next one if he comes back.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, you're never going to see another Michael Phelps. It's going to feel so weird seeing the next couple Olympics without him in it.
And there's competition again in the events.
But he might have a successor in the women's side of things. Katie Ledecky, wow, she is phenomenal. I mean, she came in and dominated when she was 15, and now at 19 years old, she's coming back, still doing her thing.
Crushed her own world record.
Yeah, she didn't even beat it. She just dismantled it. And then she's also matched Michael Phelps 4 golds and 1 silver, and I think she still might have 1 more to go. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, dominant performances from Ledecky and Phelps. Big reasons why the U.S. is where they're at right now in the medal standings.
USA Swimming, we have more clean water than everyone else.
That's what it comes down to, right? Yeah, and then another quick shout out and U.S. Gymnastics. Our gymnastics team is pretty good already, viewed as one of the favorites to win. But Simone Biles, big reason why. We're only about halfway through. She's just totally beaten everybody by a good margin, really. And in the first 2 events she's done, she's got a couple more coming up, and she's won 2 golds already. She's projected to sweep throughout all of her events. So Simone Biles, great performance from her as well. If she keeps doing her thing, I think it's really those 3 athletes that are just exemplifying the U.S. dominance in the Rio Games.
Yeah, other than the basketball team and their...
Yeah, and then the last thing we're going to jump on to is the basketball team. So the men's basketball team that's over in Rio right now, it was a close one the other day, to say the least,
It's
playing against Serbia. So yeah, you had Bogdan Bogdanovic, who was open for a 3 that might have made it a little interesting there. But I still think that they're going to not let any big chokes or anything go down. I think they'll take care of business when they need to.
Yeah, I mean,
just a little bit of scare there.
They had
to wake
another
up.
sort of close matchup. They pulled away at the end there against Australia too. So two games against teams that play team ball very well. I mean, I guess that was the biggest. It's basically hero ball to the max here against team ball and some of these other teams. So, but so far the USA's heroes ball is working out. So
it's just because they have so much talent that they can get away with it.
Yeah.
They're so much more talented than the other teams. The other teams don't have that sheer raw athleticism and skill to lean on in tough times.
They need to play with quick passing.
They need that Spurs-esque kind of identity to even have a chance to win the game.
Exactly.
But it's been a pretty decent little stretch for U.S. basketball nonetheless. I mean, they're still undefeated, and they have guys like Kevin Durant. Carmelo Anthony became the leading scorer in U.S. Olympic history, passing LeBron James, so at least he's got that to hold on to.
Yeah, he got something like, what was it? How many points was it? 270 or something like that?
It's a pretty high point total, and I don't think that's going to be matched in quite a while, too, just because guys aren't really playing as many Olympics. There's still guys who like to go out and play in the Olympics, but guys don't play in as many of them. They might be good for 1 or 2 and then be done.
And you see what Carmelo said about the medals, getting 3 medals. He sees that as having a great career, as opposed to getting the championships.
Yeah.
Getting a championship.
That's a nice patriotic way of looking at it.
You smart. You loyal.
Yeah, it's. I wouldn't put him on the same level, but I'd say those 3 medals still are right up there. Like you're only 13 or 14 guys are going to get chosen to go there every 4 years. So to be able
Yeah,
to
it's impressive
to do
enough
what
to
he
just
did.
make the squad, let
Yeah.
alone get that team to win the medals. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good job, good career by Carmelo so far. I mean, he's still got a few left, but I'd say it's pretty likely this will be his last Olympics.
Yeah, USA has one more game tomorrow morning, men's basketball. They're facing off France Sunday, 10:15. So finish up that game, get the win, go into the knockout rounds.
Be there or be square.
Oh, man.
All right, I think we're going to pretty much wrap it on up from there. So, it's been a good show so far. I feel like got a lot covered today.
Yeah.
Went from NFL to Olympics
Got
to
some-
baseball.
That Rio win there. Get a little more update next week, and then we'll wrap that up. The Olympic stuff. All right, let's get social media.
All right, so social media, hit me up at the tweets at Dalton Wicks. Also hit up Eric at.
EH24 the Mamba. It'll be changed eventually. I don't want to talk about it.
Also hit up the Facebook page. Leave us a comment, question, interact with us. We'd appreciate it.
iTunes.
Yeah, subscribe on iTunes, folks.
YouTube, Dub and Harmon Podcast. Hit us up on the Facebook, the Zynga, the MySpace. Hit us up anywhere. All right, have a good day, have a good night, whatever you're doing. Hope you enjoy it.
All right, you stay classy.